Thank you for joining us at FTP Sports Games. This video serves as a general walkthrough for the Courtside Basketball Computer Game Center and builds on the first two videos in the Courtside series, how to set up a team sheet and how to set up a game. I've loaded the Computer Game Center game that we set up in video 2 against the Celtics and the Lakers. We named that with a unique game name, the Celtics at the Lakers, 224. We entered the team names, the arena name. We pasted the players into the roster sections here, and then we moved the starting players into the on-floor section of the Computer Game Center. The Computer Game Center serves two purposes. It replaces and automates the play result cards and charts, and also replaces the score sheet. Courtside basketball is delivered with hybrid instructions that tell you how to play the game with the cards and charts version, but in each section it also gives instructions on areas within the Computer Game Center and how to resolve those plays using the Computer Game Center. This video will serve as a walkthrough and a small tutorial on where those things are located on the Computer Game Center screen, how to use the buttons to get specific results, and where you go to look in each section to find out how to resolve the play that you are currently using. And we'll also show you how to use the statistics and basically set yourself up with the information contained in the hybrid instructions for Courtside basketball with this video to give you the knowledge that you need to start and play games. The first thing we'll go over is what replaces the play result cards and the charts that's visible right now on the Computer Game Center screen. This area over here serves as basically the heart and the engine of the Computer Game Center as far as arriving at individual play results. And these are the play result areas right here, the 1 through 100 number, the 1 through 20 number, and the 1 through 10 number. You'll notice as I hover over these things, and all around the Computer Game Center screen you see little red triangles, and when you hover over it, what it does is it gives you a short description of what that area is for and the possibility of a couple of other directives associated with that. So as we hover over these things, it will tell you what they're used for. So again, the 1 through 100 number, the 1 through 20, and the 1 through 10. This is the offensive option color. And this is different things like momentum check, interior blocks will come up here at time to time, things associated with the blue numbers, etc. This section here will tell you if there's a possibility of a committed foul, and this will tell you whether there's a possibility of a drawn foul. This area brings up the ref symbol, which may lead to different referee interactions. And this section every now and then shows DOG, which means delay of game. And then down here, this section shows you what the rotation shot is going to be, whether it's a rotation or a force ball rotation, whether it's outside, inside, or the best rating of the player. And this right here will tell you whether the home team or the visiting team gets the call on certain calls that can go either way. When you read through the instructions for Courtside basketball, you see that there are certain calls that can go either way. When this is the case, one of the coaches will be upset, obviously, or one of the players, etc., because these kind of things lead to that kind of interaction. When the ref symbol is showing in either of these sections or both, what that means is when a play happens, like a foul or a turnover, or someone is called for traveling, or a ball is stolen, etc., the player involved in that naturally would end up being upset by that call will have a referee interaction, which I will get into in a few minutes. A couple of other things that are important. The foul on section here shows a position. Sometimes it'll show H, meaning high, and a number associated with it. Again, all of this is covered in depth in the instructions. This video is just to kind of point out where certain things are. The stolen by section is here. As we move over to this section, the rebound battle location is right there. And then the offensive rebounder is listed on the left, and the defensive rebounder is listed on the right. So as we cycle the play results, it'll change what's possible, and there are certain color schemes that bring up other results. When it's red, that's an automatic uncontested defensive rebound. Green is an automatic uncontested offensive rebound. And any time that this is colored in orange, that means that the rebound battle will be physical. If that is accompanied with a fizz response coloring in orange here, that means that then it's going to trigger not only a physical play, but a response to that physical play by another player. This section here is what gives you the information, just like the play result cards for double teaming. This is the assist section here. Anytime there's a made shot, you always do an assist check, even on individual player moves, because he may have worked with another player on a give and go in order to arrive at the made basket. So this section right here, the offensive color, the numbers, the referee interaction, the foul committing or drawing, the rebounds, and the assists, that's, as we all know, those are the main plays in basketball, and this is the area that you use to arrive at the results for those main plays. As we move down, we start to see other areas. Outlet for the fast break. What type of fast break? The fast break defender. Loose ball scenarios. And those correspond to the buttons below, which I'll get into in just a few minutes. These sections here tell you what happened on specific results, just like the play result cards do. If there's a steal, what happens? Well, in this case, there's a fast break. A block shot, this is a jump ball. What's the inbound play? And what type of turnover was committed? Again, all of these in the cards and charts version, you either arrive at these results by looking at a play result card or referencing a section on the actual Game Center chart or one of the other charts. But for the Computer Game Center, this information is contained up in this area here and serves as the main hub for most of the plays that happen. And anytime secondary plays are opened up or anytime auxiliary plays happen, those lead to certain buttons being clicked that will open up those kind of plays and either give you a result or tell you what needs to be checked very quickly. Along with some of the main play result areas that replace the PRCs and the Game Center chart and a couple of the other charts, in order to drive the Computer Game Center and make it work, in order for it to function, you have these buttons. The play result button cycles the numbers and everything showing here that replaces the PRCs and the game charts. So hitting play result will make that cycle. And then this button here is very important. On the score sheet, you draw circles around 15-second increments until you get to the final minute of a quarter. In the Computer Game Center, you start to subtract these possessions by clicking the possession button. Alright, and every time you click the possession button, it will take off 15 seconds. This is an actual gameplay time, right? More or less time could be used during a specific possession, but in the tabletop sports hobby, we all know that we use basic numbers like 15 seconds. Some games use 10, some games use 20 or 12 or whatever. Courtside basketball uses 15, and every time you hit the possession button, it will subtract one. As you hit the possession button and you get down to whole minutes, meaning 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0, when 000 is showing, that's still marking the end of a minute played. So anytime you get to an end of a minute played, next time you hit possession, the minute button will come up, the minute indicator, and with blue background and yellow wording will pop up to show you that you need to now assign a minute played to the game. You do that by clicking the yellow minute button. As soon as you click the yellow minute button, you will see that it goes through and adds a minute played, both an entire game minute. This keeps track of a player's total game minutes, and this section here, fatigue, highlighted in red, so it's easy for you to reference for fatigue purposes for the game. This will show you the consecutive fatigue minutes played by that player, and this is the player's individual stat line. So again, as you click down possession-wise, it starts to subtract. Also, as a pacing option in courtside basketball, you can choose to slow the pace down. Anytime either team chooses a slow play possession, instead of clicking the blue possession button, you click the red team possession button associated with either the home team. Again, this whole section is for the home team. This whole section is for the away team. In clicking a slow pace indicator, the pace negative button, if you click it, it will drop it down to 10 minutes, and it will subtract a slow play possession for that team, and I'll get into this a little bit more later, and it takes off 2 possessions. We went from 10:30 down to 10. Again, this is a more or less type thing. But it dropped us down to a whole minute, so we need to click minute here and assign a game played minute to every player on the floor, both total and fatigue. You'll notice here, let's count down 3 possessions down to 9:15. If you do a slow play possession, let's have the home team do it, the Lakers in this case, You click it, it dropped us down to 845. Slow play, they only have 19 slow play possessions remaining, but this isn't showing. This is an indicator that goes off at every whole minute. When you do that and it skips a whole minute, you need to make sure you remember to click the minute played button as well. These buttons here are assigned to each team for physical play points, for the visiting team and then for the home team. So anytime a play result is a physical play, and indicated here in orange, if the player is able to make a defensive stop and it's colored in orange, you give that team a physical point, either to the visiting team or to the home team. These basic buttons here are what drives courtside basketball. Play results, cycle the numbers, and possession starts to count down the time sequences and the possessions associated with the game in courtside basketball. Alright, let's talk about buttons that bring up specific play results. Next to the main buttons that actually drive the function of courtside basketball, we have some buttons here. The dunk button, transition setup, fast break setup, the running game, full court, half court, 3-point, and clear. Each of these buttons has a specific purpose. Anytime a play result ends in a dunk, and you on the player's card it indicates that he's going to dunk the ball, you click another play result button to make sure that he doesn't draw a foul or a foul is committed on him, and then as soon as you have that, clicking this dunk button will bring you to the dunk page in the Computer Game Center. And you'll notice here that everything is grayed out. Nothing is showing yet. When you read the instructions, you know that there are two things that happen on dunk plays. Number one, you need to determine what kind of dunker you're dealing with, an average dunker, an athletic dunker, or a power dunker, and what the scenario is, whether it's in traffic, meaning a post-up type play, a driving dunk, transition dunks, those are traffic dunks, an alley-oop, that's obvious, fast break, same. Put-back dunks or dunks that happen right off of a missed shot, Shaq, Karl Malone, Hakeem, a lot of those types of players, DeAndre Jordan for the Clippers right now, Blake Griffin. And then after rebound dunks are when a player grabs an offensive rebound, lands and gathers himself and goes up and dunks the ball. So in order for the dunks to show here, the first thing you need to do is click one of these 5 dunk scenarios. So let's click fast break, and you'll see that nothing happens yet. The next thing you need to do is click the type of dunker, and then it will open everything up. So we have a fast break by an athletic dunker. It's a 2-hand reverse and a dunk score of 1.2. It makes it kind of fun because not only does it tell you what kind of dunk it is, but it also gives you a score. So in this case, athletic and power dunkers have a possible dunk score of 1 through 10. Average dunkers have a dunk score of 1 through 5. So power dunkers are guys like Karl Malone, Daryl Dawkins, guys like that. Athletic dunkers are, Dominique, the human highlight film, Michael Jordan, Vince Carter, Blake Griffin could be both, and you could have fun and choose different types of, whether it's power or athletic each time he dunks the ball. And then average dunkers are guys like Bill Laimbeer or Bill Hanslick or even Larry Bird. Their dunks are a little bit more nondescript, like 2-hand stuff or 1-hand slam, stuff like that. In traffic dunks by athletic players, those are fun. So it's a 1-hand stuff by the athletic dunker. And as you see, auxiliary plays are possible here, things that open up differently from time to time. And so in this case, it's a poster shot. In other words, he dunks over the point guard or the power forward or center. The position will be listed here. Think Sean Bradley, right? He got dunked on countless times, and even at 7'6". So different dunk scenarios. Okay, great. This one, it was a power after rebound, and there's a chance that it was missed, and yes, it was missed. It would have been a pretty decent dunk at 7.3, but it's actually missed, and then you proceed from there with a rebound battle. And other things are possible down here. Anything highlighted in blue, like 1 out of 1,000 chances that a backboard is broken or a rim is broken. And then from there, you've got like hanging on the rim, technical fouls. You've got players falling after dunks, being off balance, and possibly being injured. So, different things like that. And every now and then here, it'll call for a possible block of a dunk. All right, just like that. That came up randomly, luckily. So if the point guard rating has the point guard has a block rating of greater than 3, then he blocks it. All right. So anyways, this gives you the dunk scenarios, and as soon as you wrap things up here and you know what the result is, you click on this picture here, the ball on the court, and it takes you right back to the main Game Center page. It's moving a little bit slow because a lot of my processor speed is used up in the capture video file. And so the dunk button transports you to the dunk section. And when you hit the transition setup button, you would then, any of these buttons, these two buttons right here, transition setup and fast break setup, they open up a layer down here that was previously grayed out. So again, the game instructions tell you what you're looking for and what's happening, but basically what you're looking to do is looking for, when the play result calls for a transition setup, what the pass is going to lead to, whether it's a dunk or a lay-in or a three-pointer. And then there's a descriptive pass listed above, which is only opened if the player meets the assist criteria. So if a player has an assist rating that's equal to or less, all right, equal to or less, in other words, if this assist number is greater than his assist rating as a player, he doesn't make the descriptive pass. So for a guy like John Stockton, he has a high assist rating, he's going to make these kind of descriptive passes. Kurt Rambis is not, all right? So again, clicking on the transition button will open up this section down here. The next time you click possession, it will gray it out again, so it goes away. Same thing for fast break setup. When you click the fast break setup, it brings up what the pass result's going to be. If the result of a fast break called for a player to set up somebody else, this tells you what the result of the play is going to be, again described in the game instructions. What type of descriptive pass is available if the player meets the assist rating criteria. And if not, then it's just the play result, but nothing fancy. Nothing that gives you that little added flavor of a John Stockton or a Magic Johnson or somebody like that coming down the floor on a transition type, especially Magic. And because you know these players from your youth or just as a basketball fan, you can picture as these type of passes are mentioned, like a behind-the-back pass, you can see it play out in your head. But again, if the player doesn't meet the assist criteria, then it's just a regular pass to the player who was intended to receive the pass, and the play result is listed there. All right. These buttons here, anytime you click any of these, they show up right underneath because they have specific other things involved. So for example, anytime a team gets a running game chance, and I'm going to talk about pace options and how to highlight those in just a second. But anytime there's a running game chance, when you click on that, it will tell you what needs to happen in order for the team to get out and run. And then end of game and end of period scenarios from full court, half court, and then a 3-point attempt where the team is trying to get a 3-point shot directly off of an inbound pass. Clicking on this will open up the scenario there. And then if you want to clear out that information, just hit the black button and it goes away. And then this section again, as part of a play result, these are the auxiliary plays that come up, you know, a lot of times in half court sets and stuff, offensive fouls. This means the ball's been tipped out of bounds with less than 3 seconds on the clock, so they have to do a half-court scenario. Ball is stolen, that's the result. So a lot of times when you click these buttons, it'll just tell you what the result of a play will be, but at the same time it may actually, and especially in the running game, the players involved may actually have to meet the criteria, in other words, in order to get out and run, etc. And again, anytime you clear these out here, anytime you click the blue possession button, it will take these and gray these out. And just as a reference, we got down to 8 minutes even, so we need to click the minute button. You want to do this the first time it pops up, and then you keep playing from there, and then the next time the possession is clicked or slow play or whatever, that will go away. All right, let's go over next what happens when a physical play is involved, and then a physical response, and then also referee interactions. So every time that you get a physical play where the result is orange, anytime that this is also colored in orange, that means not only is there a physical play, but there's a response to it. For rebounding, anytime the rebound battle area is highlighted in orange, and also right above it, the fizz response area is highlighted in orange, those two things happen together. That means there's a physical play and a response. So in a second, we'll get into the responses. The first thing you do is anytime, like we covered before, anytime that there's a physical play in favor of one team or the other, you tally a physical point for that team. This section down here, and this orange button, will assign a physical play point to the game in general. Not to one team or another, but just bump up by 1 point the physical play of the game. So as this plays out, and you eventually get to a physical response, let's say that there's a defensive stop and it calls for a physical play, all right, that happens, and then a physical response. Anytime there's a response, you slide down here, and you're going to be in the physical / referee interaction. So we had a physical play. Those independently, whenever just a physical play happens, a point is assigned either to the visiting team or the home team or just to the game in general. But anytime there's a response also indicated, you scroll down here, and then you've got two choices: physical responses that take place during a rebound and physical responses that take place during a play. Clicking on it will open up this section. So we had a physical play and a response during a rebound, and what happens is it tells you what the physical play is: a hard elbow on rebound, drawing a reaction, and the players step to each other and bump chests. That never happened, right, between the Celtics and the Lakers, ever. And that gives you a description of what takes place there, and also, very importantly, highlighted in blue, what the referee's reaction to that is. So, let's say it's Rambis and McHale, a physical rebound battle. You slide down here, you determine what the result of that play is, what the physical play is. It was a hard elbow on a rebound, and then the reaction is that the players, step towards each other and kind of bump chests and get in each other's face. There's a couple of other important things to think about here as well. Anytime things are mentioned here, you follow them. So not only did this happen, but it happened in such a way that it called for a quick escalation in game intensity. And these are the bump buttons. You would bump it up 10 here and bump it up 5 here if indicated. If ever it says that you have a cooling of the heads, then you would reset the physical play using this button here. Anytime extra players are involved, like in a fight or a brawl or whatever, you click this button and it will tell you who the players are. All right? And so there's all this information here. The next time you click possession, it all goes away. So again, the physical play aspect, that's been in basketball forever. So when physical defensive stops happen, or hard fouls, or any of the things that are outlined in the game instructions for courtside basketball, you drop down, choose a game scenario, and then look and see what the referee, how the referees will react to it. And a quick note: as the game increases from normal to bumpy, from bumpy to physical, and from physical to very physical, as the physical nature of the game evolves, the referees are going to react to it differently. They'll end up reacting to it more harshly over time. And up here under the scoreboard, this keeps track of, with the main section of the Computer Game Center showing just exactly what the current physicality of the game is. So that's physical play. And then right now, nice and convenient, the ref button is showing there. So again, a referee interaction happens when one team or the other, in a call that can go either way. When you look here, in that case, it would be the visiting team that would benefit. All of that is covered in the game instructions. And then also, when the ref button is showing on certain plays, like a foul, or if a ball is stolen from a player who thinks that he was fouled while that happened. Any time a result of a play happens that would lead to a referee interaction, like a foul being called, a steal happening, a turnover, maybe a goaltending call. Anytime those things happen, someone's going to get upset. So what you do is you click one of the two buttons associated with referee interactions. This button on the left corresponds to the away team, the visiting team. And on the right, because when I play the game, I lay everything out: the home team on the right and the visiting team on the left, just to keep things simple. So this button corresponds to the referee interactions for the visiting team, and this for the home team. So again, just like physical responses, as soon as you click this button, it assigns a team mood point with the referees to the visiting team, and you scroll down, and now you see what happens. This section here tells you that we're in a visitor interaction with the referees. The current mood with the referees, nothing. It's just a normal mode. And who is interacting with the referee? It's a player. So whoever the player was involved. And this will show either player, head coach, or assistant coach, and every now and then another player. And if you need to know who that extra player is, you just click this button down here and it'll tell you. And another important note: if this ever shows cool mood, then you click the blue button and it resets. The team cools off with the refs and they reset it back down to 0. If it calls for a stern warning from the ref and you bump it up 1, you hit this button. And then right now it's showing that the visiting coach attempts to work the referees. Anytime that's the case, anytime the visiting coach works the referees, referring to the game instructions, you look to see, using this number 10 up here, if the team, if they're able to meet the criteria for working the refs. If the coach is able to, you click this button here, and it will highlight the working ref section on the left side of the scoreboard, which corresponds to the visiting team. This means that during the process of maybe Danny Ainge getting fouled or whatever, he's kind of a hothead, he spouts off to the ref kind of ignores it, but at the same time, Casey Jones is in his ear, and he meets the criteria, and he is right now working the refs. and then let's say another play happens and Pat Riley gets upset with the refs. You click that button to assign a point, and you drop down here, and the head coach, he try, he's a little bit chirping at the refs, etc. The ref doesn't react, which is the normal response when the team is just in a normal mood. Pat Riley is attempting to work the refs, and there's a cool mood. So we would cool the mood down, and we would look up here to see if Pat Riley, using this 10 number again, to see if he's able to. And if one team is shown to be working the refs, but the other coach gets it, you just click this button right here, and you switch it over. It kind of gives you the really neat kind of coaching interaction between the refs. They're trying to work the refs, etc., etc. It doesn't come up all the time, only every now and then. But let's say about every 4 times that you click this, it's going to bump up a level. It goes from upset to very upset to irate, starting with normal. So as you bump up the levels, as the team mood intensifies with the officiating, you're going to see different types of results here. And again, all this goes away anytime you click possession. So let's have another referee interaction with the Lakers. You drop down here and you see what's going on. The current mood is that they're upset with the officials, and it was the player who was immediately involved in the interaction, and the ref chooses not to respond. But let's bump it up again. Now he issues a warning. Maybe next time, there's an attempt to work the refs, and the ref chooses not to interact. Now we have a referee that gives a technical. And when you look at the Game Center charts, you see what's possible. It can eventually get so explosive that the head coach throws his jacket, gets ejected. Maybe he does something even more, like actually bumps the ref. In my 1985-86 replay that I'm back into again, Don Casey of the Los Angeles Clippers actually bumped the ref, and so I determined that he was suspended for 5 games. In other words, what this does is it really helps you capture the mood. Basketball isn't just shots and rebounds and missed shots, etc., etc. There's a lot of other things that are going on. And in courtside basketball, very quickly and within the flow of the game, it adds some of these different flavors like physical play and referee interactions. And they're easily resolved by clicking a button. You find out really quick what happens, and you go back up and you move on with play. And when you click the possession button, it grays it out. We're down to 7 minutes. We click the minute played and assign the minutes to each player, and we move on. So again, this keeps track of it here. Home team on this side, the current mood. Visiting team, the current mood. Working the refs back and forth. And let's say Casey Jones has this, and then a situation comes up, and he does work the refs, and the 50-50 call goes the other way, then you clear that out. And you'll see that neither coach is currently in that situation. And at the end of a half, you go ahead and clear it out as well, because halftime has a general tendency to kind of cool things down slightly, and neither coach can be working the refs leading into halftime and coming out of it as well. So you clear that off by hitting that clear button down there. So again, those are the buttons associated with physical play and physical response, and then different referee interactions. And again, the referee interactions happen in 2 ways. One, a call that can go either way, as completely outlined in the instruction manual, and then players who respond to calls made on them or not on them. In other words, if a foul is called on somebody, he gets upset. If a ball is stolen from somebody, the offensive player who had the steal made on him, he gets upset. If a team, Olajuwon travels and he gets upset. If Ralph Sampson's called for goaltending, etc., etc. Those open up those different types of scenarios and add a lot of fun. All right, let's talk about some of the other buttons that open up some of the auxiliary and secondary plays in courtside basketball. Anytime, and you'll see I just keep clicking the possession button here or there, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. But anyways, these buttons down here, anytime there's another type of either auxiliary or secondary play, those are found on the play result cards or on one of the Game Center charts. But instead, in courtside basketball, you need to be able to push a button and access the area to know what happened. Anytime a loose ball happens, then it will tell you one of 3 options. It's either, one of 4. It's either a tie-up, which is you use the scramble button for that, a crazy bounce, an attempted save. So in this case, we would go down here and you would click the scramble, crazy bounce, or attempted save button, and as soon as you do, it opens it up over here. It tells you what the play is. It's a scramble, and then it tells you the offensive and defensive players involved and what the result would be. In this case, it's winning possession of the ball. Click it again, there's a jump ball between the center and the power forward. Click it again, just win possession. All right, so it's anytime there's like these floor scrambles or ball scrambles, that's what takes place. This grayed out section here will show physical or physical response if in the scenario that we click here, that comes up. And anytime you have a loose ball scramble, there's going to be a little bit more opportunity for physical plays. Crazy bounce, it just tells you what the bounce is off of, the backboard, the rim, the ref, etc., and what the end result will be. Again, there's no rating checks here. It's just telling you what the result is. The attempted save, this one's really fun. Anytime a loose ball happens, and up here it says attempted save, you simply drop down here, click it, and it'll tell you what the result is. It was along the end line. The offensive power forward tried to save it to a teammate, and he does. And they win ball possession. Click it again. It's on the end line. The offensive shooting guard, but an injury check comes up, right? Because these happen pretty frequently during attempted saves and loose balls. No, he can't save it. He can't control the ball. If he would have been able to, the result for the offense would have been an open jump shot. If it would have been a defensive player, it would have been a fast break. So again, these are fun. And every now and then it pops up that you can possibly try and call a timeout. There it is, in order to maintain possession of the ball. Again, that's era specific though, right? So just like before, when you click possession, those gray out again so that they're gone. And then let's have some other things here. Every now and then on a fast break, you'll notice in this section up here, it'll be highlighted in red and it will say aux. Well, that's a fast break auxiliary play. So you drop down here, click the button associated with that, and it'll tell you what happens. Well, this was a breakaway, clear path foul, and physical. So you can already get a mental picture for what's going on there, right? Flagrant foul 2, well, that's an immediate ejection, right? Flagrant foul 1 is just a flagrant foul assigned to the player. If he gets 2 during the game, he's out. The offensive player gets a couple free throws and possession of the ball. A flagrant 2 is an immediate ejection, all right? So those kind of things come up. Anytime you call a full court press, and as a defensive option, do not click possession first because you need to find out the result of the full court press before you decide what the possession will be. So click on the full court press. There's a 10-second timeout for, so you wouldn't click a possession. The next possession would be timed, but not that one. Great. This one tells you that during the full court press, a full court press aux play happened. Click that button, and it'll tell you between the offensive and the defensive player, there's a block charge scenario. Those are real fun, right? So you'll see here that there aren't any offensive or defensive players listed for a full court press. Instead, you're using the offensive option color and that player associated with it, and then the fast break defender is involved. So again, these bring a lot of flavor and a lot of fun to games and let you know what's going on along with the mood and the current physicality of the game. Half court trap. Again, you're not going to start out with possession there. You're going to click half court trap first to see what the result of the play is. And these bring up specific players for the defense and the offense. Anytime there's an alley-oop, instead of just having an alley-oop happen, automatically you need to click the alley-oop button to see if the players involved meet the criteria in order for the alley-oop to actually take place. If it does, you go back up here, you click the dunk button, alley-oop, power. Well, it would have been a one-hand rim rattler, but he missed it. So you move on to a rebound battle from there. Click that button and you're back over to the main page. Again, these gray out every time you click possession. And we assign another minute. You'll see that the fatigue minutes are moving up, etc., etc. And now let's look at the pick and rolls. There are 4 different pick and roll grades, right? A, B, C, and D. And clicking on the pick and roll button for the grade involved brings up the player result number to let you know if it's successful or not and what the result of the pick and roll would be. The pick and roll has been a staple of basketball forever. You know, sometimes called screen roll, pick and roll, pick and pop, you know, etc., pick and fade. So there's all sorts of different things that can come up. And so the pick and roll adds a lot of fun to courtside basketball. And you'll see that after a while you'll use it, and especially in eras more, you know, into the 90s. In modern day, they use some teams use it as an offensive strategy all the time. In other games, I watched a game not very long ago on YouTube where Larry Bird ran a pick and roll with Bill Walton. So it comes up pretty frequently. And I watched a YouTube video of the '89 Eastern Conference Finals between the Pistons and the Bulls. You know, the Jordan Rules era when the Pistons, you know, beat on him continually. And it was Tommy Heinsohn, and he was talking about the importance of the pick and roll and what it can do. The pick and roll obviously was personified by John Stockton and Karl Malone, right? Stockton and Malone, and they really kind of made that come to life with 2 very distinct players involved. So as you click this, every now and then you'll see that another layer of results is open. That means that if the defense stops it, it calls for something else to happen, like the point guard to maybe work around it. Someone like a John Stockton he's still going to be effective quite often when the defense is able to stop it and still get a result out of it. Sometimes it calls for an illegal screen, etc., etc. But these buttons down here, it adds fun and excitement and a little bit of a distinction between from game to game what's happening, so that the basketball game doesn't end up just being what type of possession, who shoots, where the ball goes, defensive rebound, offensive rebound, who shoots, balls on the other side of the floor. It's still, that's at the heart of courtside basketball. But secondary to that and kind of bubbling under the surface are all of these other things that take place that really make the game descriptive and allow you to get a good feel for what's going on. And just like always, as soon as you click the possession button, that area grays out and they're gone. All right, next let's have a look at the buttons associated with the actual teams in the team areas. The top area is for the visitor away team, and the bottom area here is the home team. The statistical buttons assigned to the players who are currently on the floor and their stat lines. And then these buttons over here are really important. If you ever need to assign a team turnover to the visiting team or the offensive team or the home team, you just click on that button and it will assign one in their stat line as a team and also up here on the team statistics section. Anytime there's an offensive rebound where it's assigned to the team, rebounds that get knocked out of bounds where neither team gains possession of it, but it's flipped out of bounds by the defense. Well, the offensive team is given an offensive rebound, and it's credited to the team. Block shots as well. If a shot is made and the shot is blocked and the ball lands out of bounds, that's an offensive rebound for that team. And defensive rebounds assigned to the team are done the same way. You just click the D rebound button for that team, and it will assign one. And as you see, it starts to accumulate here along the team stat line, and then up here in the statistics section. And then the blue buttons here, those are for timeouts. All right, timeout for the home team or visiting team, and then full timeout for the home team, and then 20-second timeouts. And then these, we covered this before. This is a slow pace button. So anytime you click it, it's going to take 2 time sequences off the clock, and it's going to count down here the number of slow play possessions available for that team. Again, teams from fast playing eras like the 80s and even into the 70s and really fast in the 60s, for the most part, they're never going to employ a slow play strategy unless it's towards the end of the game and they're more interested in running clock than scoring more points. If that's the case, then you would want to use it. But in some of the more teams like in the 90s and in the 96 and 97 season set that's available now, someone like Cleveland's going to have 4 or 5 slow play possessions per quarter. Now that's what's possible for them. You don't necessarily need to do that by rule. As you watch the game play out, maybe the pace of the game and maybe the flow of the game and what's happening in the game right then is to the liking of the Cavaliers coach Mike Fratello. So he doesn't see any reason to even further slow down the pace of play. Again, but he might if another team, the Cavaliers use that slow play to really kind of thwart, more athletic and quicker teams. So if you see that that's happening, then you may want to have a couple of slow play possessions. But either way, you can have no more than the amount shown here, and generally, most often would never even have that many. Teams from those eras kind of have built in to the game the things that trigger that type of play for that team, a lack of fast breaks, a lack of transition, etc., etc. But anyways, this button takes 2 time sequences off the clock as well as counting a slow play possession. And if we do another and we see that the whole minute is skipped, you got to make sure you add a minute assigned to the game. And then along with that, you'll see that there are stat buttons assigned to each of the players. So these buttons correspond to the player currently occupying the line. So let's say that a foul happens and Dennis Johnson is given the foul. Ainge makes a shot. Larry Bird had the assist. Magic assists on an inside basket by Kareem, and he gets the assist. Bird hits a 3 ball. A defensive rebound by Parrish. An offensive rebound by McHale. A personal foul on Bird. A turnover. Again, all of these buttons correspond to the sections of the player stats. But also what you noticed here is that whenever you click field goal attempted or field goal made, not only does it assign that stat to that player, and including his points totals, and et cetera, it also gives the points on the scoreboard associated with 3-point shots and free throws, and will also start to fill in the information over here, the team shooting percentage from 3-point, from free throw, rebound statistics, assists, steals, blocks, turnovers, and then one of my favorites, the hustle area. That just combines offensive rebounds, steals, and blocks. But it will also really kind of paint a picture for you as to what's happening during the game. And this area here I refer to all the time when I'm playing to see, who's got the advantage on the boards, what the teams are shooting, etc., etc. It really will kind of really fill in, if you're looking at a nice painting, it kind of fills in that extra stuff that really paints the picture for what's going on in the game. And that's one of the advantages of having a computer game center, is that the stats are done automatically for you as soon as you click a button. We just did this randomly, obviously, but right now the Celtics are on. They bump out to an 11-2 start to the game. Well, Pat Riley doesn't like that, right? And you can also see that momentum is with Boston right now, because momentum is accumulated during offensive runs where consecutive points are scored, or just in general as points are accumulated both sides. If it's even, there won't be any momentum gained either way. But as soon as one team starts to go on a spurt or pull away a little bit, you'll see that they'll gain momentum, indicated by the green momentum symbol here, and then a number is assigned to that. Once you get up into the 92, 93, 94, 95, they're gaining some significant momentum. And what that does is it slightly bumps up their shooting percentage, while also at specific times taking away certain shots from the other team. And that's all covered in the instructions. And also physical play leads to momentum as well. Having played basketball, anytime you get a physical rebound or a good defensive stop that's physical, that pumps up the team. And so physical play can be valuable in that way as well. So the Celtics in LA get off to an 11-2 start. Pat Riley doesn't like that. So as a coach, and this is important as well, having coached basketball, you need to manage very, very carefully the momentum of the game. So Pat Riley sees this, and usually the strategy is to call a timeout. Why? To slow down the momentum of the other team. So let's say the Lakers call a timeout, and when the other team has momentum and you do call a timeout, you click the negative mo button, and it will take momentum away from that team. All right? So that is what the strategic purpose is. Now, you only have a certain amount of timeouts per game, so you want to use them judiciously and monitor how often you call one. They come up every now and then in gameplay. Sometimes you can, on a full court press, you have the option of calling a timeout in order to avoid making a turnover. If you don't have any, you won't get it. At the end of the game scenario, if there's very little time left without a timeout, you won't be able to move the ball up to half court, etc., etc. So momentum plays a very important part, and this is how it's monitored. And if the Lakers had momentum, it would be showing momentum here with the number. And then during the timeouts, if the other team has momentum, you click the negative mo button, and it drops it back down. At halftime, let's say the Lakers get a little momentum here, a couple physical plays, the 3-ball, Magic drives, scores. Now they got momentum. And once you get to halftime, you reset the momentum back down to 0, and you do this down here, half mo. And it takes it away and it resets it back down to 0. Another important thing to look at here, this little gray button in between turnover and power forward is for personal foul, is for offensive fouls. When a player commits an offensive foul, he not only gets a foul credited towards him, a personal foul, but it's also counted as a turnover, but not a team foul. All right? But it does count as a total foul. So team fouls, as they're accumulated, you'll eventually see that once we get to 5, it will show a penalty here. Once a team is in the penalty, then the other team gets bonus free throws, obviously according to the era played, whether it's the famous 3 to make 2, 2 to make 1 that thankfully they got rid of, and now the bonus scenarios that we're all very well aware of. So as we start to accumulate these stats, and speaking of fouls, if a foul is called, let's say Kareem picks up one foul, and then he gets called for another. In the game instructions, it talks about being able to switch fouls. So, 2 guys raise their hand at once, or 2 guys are involved in the play. You have 5 of those a game, and you can only use 5. So use them wisely, because when you get down to 0, you don't have any left, and any foul that's called on that player cannot be switched at that point. So let's say we want to sub out a player. How do you move players in and out? Well, these are the players on the floor. And so if you want to sub out Dennis Johnson, let's say he has 2 fouls, and you want to sub DJ out of the game, clicking his button here will highlight his stat line. And you see that there's a black border around it. Simply place your mouse on that border, and then you can grab it, and you can move him back down to the bench area. And then let's say you want Jerry Seasting to come into the game. Clicking his button will highlight his stat line, and you drag him up there. And obviously he doesn't have any fatigue minutes played yet. So let's say we bring DJ back into the game. Let's say we have a minute or two go by, and now everybody's got another minute played. Seasting has his first, etc., and we go ahead and sub him out by clicking his button. We take him out. We grab his stat line. Oops. We grab his stat line and move him down here. And then when we want to put DJ back in, these buttons are assigned to the section on the visiting team, and these buttons are assigned to the home team. Clicking on Dennis Johnson's button here, what it will do is it will highlight his stat line. Sorry, sometimes my computer slows down just a little bit when in the capture video mode, but it highlights his stat line, and as soon as it does, it resets his fatigue minutes back down to 0. So we grab him and we place him back in. So Larry Bird goes out, highlight him, move him down here, and then if we want to put Larry back into the game, clicking his button will reset his fatigue minutes back down to 0, but not his total minutes played. And then we move him back up into the game. If you want to do the standard Windows method of highlighting, you can highlight 3, 4, 5, 2, whatever players, and just grab that area and slide it back down. Make sure you have enough space open down below. If at any time you've done something that you didn't like the way it turned out, or you moved it over something or whatever, just hit Control and Z and it will undo it. It'll put them back where they came from. And one note here, if you say you highlight 2 or 3 players from the bench, when you highlight them like this, it does not reset their minutes played for fatigue down to 0. So you would either click their button, or in this case, just enter 0 there, and then you can highlight them and move them around how you want to. So again, the process of moving players in and out of the game, you highlight them, you click on them, whatever your method is, but it's easiest just to click the buttons associated with them, and then that highlights them, and you can then move them pretty easily from section to section, making sure that you do reset the consecutive fatigue minutes back down to 0. Once you get to halftime, obviously everybody is on a halftime break, so if the same players are on the floor, they're going to start the second half, you can reset anybody by clicking this reset button, and it drops them back down to 0. So again, all these sections here, this is for the away team, this is for the home team. The statistical assigning buttons to the different players, the actual stat line of the players in the game, the buttons for choosing them, the different buttons associated here with timeouts and turnovers and team rebounds, etc. So now we've seen what these the function of all these buttons and things like that, and what the power of a computer game center can do by automatically assigning stats when you click a button, etc., etc. It really starts to fill out the story associated with the game, and then everything that happens also during gameplay. When you start each game, these buttons over here are also important. They will do specific things. This one, and I'll do this in a minute. Let's say we get down to the end of the first period, and the possessions start to click down. Let me just click it all the way down real quick. We assign the minutes played so that you can see what happens. You'll see here in a second what takes place. We get down to the last minute, so we've had 11 minutes played, and we're into the final minute of the game, and those are counted down by 10-second increments, right? So as soon as we get down to 10 seconds, it goes to 5, and then from 5 down to 0. Once you hit 0, this comes up again, right? Because you still need to assign a minute played. We're at 0 on the clock, but there's only 11 total minutes played in the game, so you click minute, and then it assigns it all out, and this will help you make sure that you have the minutes associated with the game assigned correctly. And then next time you click possession to deal with one of the full court, half court, or 3-point scenarios to end a period or a game, you'll see that the buzzer starts to cycle. The more you click that, the closer it gets to going off. So that kind of it allows for whatever happens at full court or half court, or let's say a shot is made, whatever the play result is, as soon as buzzer comes up, whatever that next play is, that's going to be the last play, whether it's a shot, whether it's a steal, etc., etc. So you can continue play up until you see the buzzer showing. As soon as the buzzer is showing, then that whatever happens next, that indicates that after the next play, then the buzzer goes off. So now, let's say in the pregame, we did the quarter plus button, and we're showing that we're playing right now in the first period. And then as soon as you click the reset clock in between periods, it will reset the clock back to 12, and then on the quarter reset, it will reset the team fouls back to nothing, and it will take away any penalty indicators, and then you can bump up the quarter played from there. If you make it to an overtime period, you set everything up for an overtime by clicking that button. A couple of the other buttons that are important, delay of game. Let's say one team has a delay of game warning. By clicking that yellow button, it will bring up, it'll show here that they already have a delay of game warning, and that the next one would be a technical foul. And then flagrant fouls, if there's a chance a flagrant foul occurs, you click this button over here to see if the result was that there was a flagrant foul or not. Some of the other key sections right here, this tells you as a reminder of what the fast break turnover numbers are, what other things are possible on an alley-oop, that lay-ins, the blue numbers on lay-ins are on automatic block. Again, this is all covered in the instructions. Down here, what happens on an air ball, and when an air ball comes up, when the result number up here is 100 after a defensive stop, and also what happens during tips. And if there's a brawl, you click this button, it'll show you the number of players involved. This section down here allows you to assign technical fouls, ejections, flagrant fouls, etc. to a specific player. And then at the start of a game, this down here you would refer to in order to set the physical tone for the game, whether it's a regular season, playoffs, or between rivals. This is the referee mode. So if we were to switch it to call it tight, up here you would see some different things come up every now and then. As we click through different play results, you would see, and maybe one will come up fairly quickly here. Okay, so there's a tight foul call, and this is perfect. Let's say this number 10 is within the defender's foul rating of 1 through 10, and then we see that the tight foul indicator is showing, and then the ref button. So it's a tight foul, meaning that it's only called in the call it tight mode, and so that player, because the ref button is showing, he's upset at the ref. So we would click the blue button and scroll down to see what the result of that is. So those are the other areas of buttons and sections on the Computer Game Center screen. One other thing that you'll start to notice as well is as you accumulate statistics and you're playing a game, if you go to the box score tab down here at the bottom, it'll take you over here. You'll see a lot of the same information, everything that's showing here, the stat lines for each player. And then what you can do from there is, and this is what's fun, is you can then take these stats and put them into the different team stat books, whether it's the team stat line or each of the individual players. Let's just do one right here, Dennis Johnson. If we click on his, the button next to his stat line, it will highlight and copy it so that you can then go to Boston's team stat book, the player stats page, and then right click and paste it in there. Give DJ a game played and a game started, and when you go back, you'll see that now he has his stat line. And obviously we didn't play a whole game, so these stats aren't anywhere near what they would be on normal. And then from here you can also click on the team button on the right, and it will copy and highlight it. Go to the team stats page, and then as soon as you paste that in there and you assign a game played so that it has a divisible number up there, and you scroll down, you will see that now you have the team statistic averages for that team. This is all automatically linked to the league register so that all players have their minutes played, points per game, rebounds, etc., etc. The teams have their sortable statistics. The standings are filled out with information, etc., etc. So it makes it even more fun to, through the process of a replay, to start tracking those stats and see what's going on. One last thing I want to touch on is the pacing options. In the instructions, it talks about when you can speed up the pace of the game. We talked about slowing it down, but let's see what happens when we want to increase the pace of the game. So let's say Boston wants to bump up the pace. Your options are push ball, push tempo, and push break. Those are all talked about, and information is given on those in the instructions for courtside basketball. But let's say Boston wants to push the ball. As soon as you click an option here from the drop-down menu, it will change this section over here. It tells you the strategy they're in, and then it gives you the modifiers associated with pushing the ball. And if you're playing the cards and charts version, there's a little tile in the cutout components that you got with the game that you lay down that reminds you of what needs to be modified when you're pushing the ball. in the Computer Game Center, as soon as you click from the drop-down menu, one of those options, it does it for you over here automatically. You will also see that there's a number that's 1 through 100 here. This is used instead of this number to do a preliminary pace check, because if it comes up that there's a chance for a fast break, you wouldn't count that as a timed possession, right, according to the rules. So instead, you would go over here, click on the running game button, and see if the team and the players involved are able to get out in the running game according to what is listed there. And if it's a fast break that's possible, and they get out in the fast break, well, we don't time those in courtside basketball, right? So instead, you would determine and go through the process of finding out if that player, in this case, at the small forward, has the C grade or better, in order to run the floor, etc., and all sorts of things pop up here. Whether the push ball small forward has a rating for it, and you'll see after a while, once you get experience with this, that it allows you to have some pretty good options as to who you're putting on the floor at the same time. Let's say the Lakers really want to push the pace. Well, if they have Magic at the point, Byron Scott at the 2 guard, and they put Michael Cooper as a swingman small forward, well, he's got a high assist rating. He can push the ball, so it would really open up the floor for the Lakers, especially if they slide James Worthy over to the power forward spot, who can run the floor really well, and Kareem's not that bad, even as he got older. So that would be more of a speed lineup on the floor. And in other areas, a slow lineup would be, real plotters up and down the floors. We've got, big men with run floor ratings of C's and D's, and then, maybe a more of a small forward that's actually playing in the 2 slot, etc., So when you change the strategy associated with pushing the tempo, as soon as you pick one of these from the drop-down menu, it will change these modifiers here. And then let's click possession to clear out some of these things. If you want to counter it, so right now the Celtics are really pushing it hard. They're pushing the break. Let's say that Pat Riley wants a couple of guys to start drifting back a little bit early. Instead of focusing on crashing the boards, your response strategically to the pace being pushed is to choose a get-back strategy of 1 or 2. And this shows above this section here that the team is trying to counter that by sacrificing offensive rebounding for the ability to get back and defend better against the break or a transition. Let's say this team is still in an offensive rebounding strategy of crash boards. This section up here shows you what the modification would be for defensive rebounding. Because the Celtics are really trying to push it, they're in a push-break tempo as shown here, then there's an adjustment to their defensive rebounding. Every defensive rebounder has 10 taken from his defensive rebounding number to start with, and this really shows the effect of players kind of getting out early to try and initiate a break. To keep it from bogging down, no individual players are shown, obviously, because that would, to go through a different check and which player was it, etc., etc. It's just like a team holistic adjustment to the rating. But you'll notice as soon as the Lakers match that, then because the Lakers have 1 player drifting back, then it's a +1 here, and it's only a -5. And as soon as the Lakers start to have guys focus less on offensive rebounding and get back, well, everything's equaled out here, including in the defensive rebounding. Another thing as well, as soon as a period is over, not reflecting on our scoreboard up here, we didn't actually go through a period of play, but let's say the Celtics had 24 and the Lakers scored 28 at the end of the period. You can choose those from the drop-down menu or simply just type them in. And again, this gives you a full picture of what happens. So again, using the Computer Game Center, it takes the place of the play result cards and the charts, and pretty soon you'll become familiar with where to look. That's the most important thing, where you're looking to get certain play results, what buttons are used for specific plays. Again, the possession button and the play result button are very, very, very important. Physical play indicators, referee interactions, etc., etc. My favorite thing, and the reason I created the Game Center, I created the Computer Game Center for basketball before I did any of the others, is because I wanted the ability to assign statistics with a button click. For baseball, I love ball stat and ball score, and I thought that'd be great if there was something like that for basketball. So I started to work on that, but then I thought, why not just incorporate, and at this point it was just a game I had for fun, why not incorporate everything from courtside basketball with an automated stat keeping buttons and scenarios in order to kind of just put it all there and then just use the cards and the player cards and the team cards along with the Computer Game Center. And that's what you have here. You have something that automates the process of the cards and charts, allows you to keep statistics, and it does a lot of the things automatically for you, like giving you the modifiers here, etc., etc. And so as you start to play games and become more familiar with it, each time you play, you'll get a little bit better, and pretty soon you'll see that the games are starting to fly by, and quarters fly by pretty quickly, and as each game is given its descriptive nature through the statistics and the picture being painted as to what's happening, I think you'll start to enjoy courtside basketball. So I really do hope that you enjoy the games and that you have a lot of fun playing courtside basketball, and I hope this video helps you as a general understanding of where to look and what to do with the Computer Game Center, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you for joining us at FTP Sports Games.